If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. It shall lead them to buy our merch. That's what my partner in crime usually says. But my partner in crime is not disposable at the moment. Or indisposed at the moment, I should say. I was reading my little sister's quote about... Oh man, Michelle, I love you, Miss Rourke. You want some gangster shit right now? Okay, guys, we have one more song left. Unfortunately, the night is over. The big homie Negative Vibes, Kellandros, Bertel, they combined their powers. I don't know if you guys remember Captain Planet. We do have alliances. We also have single DJs, but there's no rule that says you cannot combine your song purchases to create a DJ stream with another person, which is what they have done. Gaming the system, call it what you want. I don't care. You can see up there. We've got one more song left, guys, from the beautiful people in this alliance. And we are going to listen. There's 5 lyrics we don't really have. None of us can find the lyrics, so we're just going to try to listen to the thing and vibe on it.
Okay, but this is what he said, if you can just read that.
Audn Vokudraumsins Fangi. Audn is an atmospheric black metal band from Hivgardi, Iceland. This song is short on lyrics, only 5 lines, but high on atmospheric beauty. I can only find lyrics in Icelandic. I'll try to see if I can get a translation. Ultimately, without knowing word of the language, the song perfectly captures the cold, austere beauty of their homeland without any need for a translation. Okay, let's check it out, guys. Atmospheric black metal. Obviously, to us, lyrics are important, but sometimes the music is the lyrics. We're having a hard time downloading it. By the way, the only one I could find was the official video, and so that's okay. We reserve the right not to do official videos because they'll get us blocked, because you guys know that, we don't do the talk over the music thing like other reactors do. By the way, that doesn't make us better than other reactors. It's just the way that we do things. Check out other reactors, Alex Hefner, Pink Metalhead, all those beautiful people. But we don't do that, so sometimes the record label will just straight up block the entire thing and then take down the entire stream, and then Soraya has to go and fix it. But that's okay. It's a labor of love. Kellandros is my man, and so I am going to go with the official video. Like I said, we reserve the right to do that or not do that. And I do love you all, but I'm allowed to have friends. Okay, here we go. Audn Vokudraumsins Fangi. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm sure I butchered the pronunciation and all that jazz, but we're going to do it again. Okay, let's go. Go ahead. There we go. I figured. And the name of that song translates to "Prisoner of a Daydream." Is the name of that song?
I wonder if the song, because we don't really know what it's about, right?
Well, "Prisoner of a Daydream" would be probably his understanding of life in this world. You know,
It looked to me like you were seeing...
row your boat laying down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Yeah.
You know, so "Prisoner of a Daydream," you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So what were you thinking?
Well, just looking at the video and what we were hearing, I thought it was probably talking about, like, Mother Earth and nature and how, like, because you saw, like, what they were doing in that, like, place.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like, there were the kids going into the mines, which is obviously dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the stuff that we've done to the planet because we need more, or,
Oh, really? Okay.
So that was just kind of, looking at the video, like, it just, obviously, what we were seeing, like, the industry and stuff and how it's affected.
Yeah, once. I just wanted to let the scenes play out. Go ahead.
Because you're seeing beautiful nature all over the place in a lot of the pictures. And then it switches to this weird, like, industry, and you're seeing the smoke coming out of those stacks, and then it shows, like, the river again. And so, like, just pollution and stuff. Like, we live pretty close to a river, and they've been dumping stuff in that river for the longest amount of time. And eventually, like, they started putting some regulations on it because it got so bad. I think that everything died in the river. Like, nothing could even live in that river.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure it was, like, it got really bad.
Wow.
And so they started putting, stricter regulations on the different, the shoe shops and everything that was nearby and whatever. But to my knowledge, it's not a fixed problem. Like, the river itself doesn't look too bad. Like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't necessarily know. Like, it used to smell. I don't know if you remember that. Like, used to stink really bad. It doesn't stink anymore. But still, like, I'm like, how many places have not, like, because the house that I used to live at.
I see a lot of pollution in this video.
It comes at the end. When the singing is happening, I'm pretty sure. You're just seeing, like, a lot of, area.
This looks like a lot of nature and human beings. I didn't know what this was. This was interesting. Were people, like, scarecrowing that or what?
Dressed up like, hey?
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, I didn't really see pollution. I just saw human beings just trying to, just eking out life and doing life together in their little village. I didn't really see, like, a message about, pollution or anything. It just looked to me like they were, just going through life. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you saying you got it, like, toward the end? I saw waterfalls and...
You're coming... It's after the kids go into the mines.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if you just keep watching, you'll start seeing, like, the smoke coming out of the stacks and the weird stuff that they were... That machine just kind of looked gross. And, like, it was... I don't even know what that is. Are they cleaning wool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it might just be about human ingenuity and how we've been able to master things, to create things. But, like, I was looking at this. I'm looking at the smokestacks as a negative.
I definitely see that.
I mean,
for sure.
The black one in the back. And it showed a lot of those kind of smokestacks.
What's funny is that our brain, like, colors. I was watching Bernardo Kastrup. He's like, materialists will admit that colors are a projection from our brain, they say. So that's how the world really looks. But colors, that's what the scientists are saying. Colors
then
are
if
just
that's
projections from your brain.
If that's true, then why can we see any... How come we see stuff in black and white? Why wouldn't our minds just project onto that some color?
Well, they don't know why. It's part of the hard... That's qualia. It's part of the hard problem of consciousness.
So in real life, we add color to it. But if we see a black and white film that looks like the rest of the world looks...
That's how the world really looks.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
But, yeah, so you believe colors are real?
I think we don't see color for what it is. I don't necessarily think what we see is what there is. I think it's toned down. Like, I think what they saw in the garden was much more vibrant. I think when they left the Garden of Eden, that not only was life different, but I think color was different too.
Holy smoke. Iceland used to have forests, but 97% of those were cut down in just 100 years.
Yeah, see, that's the...
Yeah, that looks to
like, human ingenuity is awesome and whatever, but if we're doing it so carelessly that we're destroying everything around us, like, I'm not good with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, here's what the scientists say. This is BBC News. I just thought it was very fascinating. I think there's a way for what you said to be real too. The first thing to remember is that color does not actually exist, at least not in any literal sense. Apples and fire engines are not red, the sky and sea are not blue, and no person is objectively black or white. What exists is light. Light is real. So you've got all the color spectrum within rays of light, but they're not objectively real by themselves, which is very interesting for materialists because they say that colors aren't objectively real even though we see colors, but that the physical things that have color, that's real though. But the colors, even though we see different colors every day, that's not real. That's a projection of the mind or mentation or whatever. So it's just very, very fascinating. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm so excited. It's so exciting to me to look at science and all of this because I'm looking at this bland black and white video, but that bland black and white video is objectively closer to quote reality than what we see. So, but yeah, I mean, I hear you. I thought the same thing. Logical progression from knowing people who are colorblind. Correct. Yeah. What we perceive as a particular color is unique to us individually. Like what blue looks like to me. Yeah. Like Kant was saying the similar thing, negative vibes. And since I cannot inhabit Sori, I don't know what blue looks like to her. It's a very fascinating concept for sure.
Well, I mean, I do kind of think that, like, when I look at, like sometimes there's, like, there'll be, like, like, colors that are put together, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, and I'm like, eek.
Yeah.
That's not really... I don't really like that.
It's fascinating because the guy that, it's talking about walking in a daydream or whatever, as Kel said. And, again, looking at a panpsychism, I mean, one of these, I'll probably do like a 5-hour video on panpsychism and all the rest of it, and I'm not a panpsychist. I'm probably more a conscious agents person, but despite the extraordinary experience of color perception, all colors are mere illusions in the sense that although naive people normally think that objects appear colored because they are colored, this belief is mistaken. Neither objects nor lights are colored, but colors are the result of neural processes. So Bernardo Kastrup was saying, okay, so you admit that something that looks objectively real and something that all of us could say is the moon white, 90% of us would say yes. When the light turns red, all of us are seeing the same thing. All of us are, but what's fascinating is all of us are seeing the same hallucination simultaneously.
That's the thing.
Unless you're colorblind. But what's fascinating is what we call a colorblind person is actually a person that's closer to reality than we are, but we're saying that they're blind. So then I say to myself, okay, so a blind person is closer to reality than a seeing person because the eye gate is simply the means by which we continue with the illusion of all, quote, physical reality. And when a blind person can't see something, he's actually seeing what's reality because in a panpsychist world or in Don Hoffman's world, none of this shit exists without mentation. So
that's really interesting.
So that was Bernardo Kastrup's thing. He was like, okay, everybody admits that these things that we just take for granted are illusions, but the physical objects themselves we're completely committed to.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is, like, one of the ways that we gauge the age of the universe is by redshift. Okay, so literally, the redshift.
You explain this, and actually, I've forgotten what it was. What is it again?
I'll explain to you offline because I don't want to. But my point is, that's one of the main ways that we're gauging the age of the universe is via redshift. But there's no such thing as red. But then we take the redshift and say objectively that is when I understand what Castrop is saying. It's a good argument, but it makes, like you said, like when you said, I don't believe that, right? And people are like, oh my God, that's science. It's like, well, in 100 years, everybody, I'm pretty sure, not even 100 years, because as the other guy is saying, space-time is doomed. In probably 30 years, physical objects are probably going to go the way of color in the sense of these are all neural processes, blah, 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 blah. And we talked about this, like, the mind is our minds are separating all these things so that we can function in the world or whatever. But it's the whole thing is fascinating. So when they say like when he talks about the daydream and all that, like that's so real. When he's talking about like trapped in a daydream or living in a daydream, which is the title of the song, it's so real. And then for them to do the video in black and white, it's also so real. But even in that black and white, that itself is a color. Because even in there, even in this video, you could tell gradations of black in the video. So even that video itself is closer to what the quote real world looks like, but it's still not there. It's just a really fascinating idea.
Is fascinating to me because, like there was a superhero movie where the person was blind and basically like their other senses got really strong, and so they were able to be a superhero. That concept.
Right.
But then when you look at because I've mulled around with this idea for probably a couple of years, but what?
Well, Archero, because Kel was saying what we call redshift, it's some sort of shift of contrast. It could have been green shift, red shift, green shift. And then Archero says, and there you have it, the most frequently occurring type of color blindness is red and green. And even if you say, Archero, there's wavelengths or we can apply objectivity to it because we can look at wavelengths. How do you know those wavelengths are actually there? If we take the color for granted, but now we say, well, yeah, it's redshift, but that's just a neural process. It's a neural hallucination. It's a neural illusion. So the color is a neural illusion, but the wavelength is objective reality? That's Kastrop's argument. His argument is, how can you prove that those wavelengths are actual objective reality? You say, well, when we assume it's real, it works. Well, yeah, we also assume that the red light is red. So that works. That doesn't mean red actually exists. It just means that it works. Right? So it's so fascinating. It opens up so many discussions. But I love the video. I definitely... what you said at the end with the smokestacks and then Kai backing you up with they took out 97% of their forestry in 100 years.
That's really bad.
So you've got to say at some level that maybe even subliminally the song or at least the video was what you're talking about. What was fascinating to me is I was watching this video and I was like, man, I love human beings, bro. Like just people in the village and the kids in the village and people working and doing this and that and like living a very simple life. I'm like, man, I love human beings. And at the same time, it's like, yeah, we also took down 97% of the forestry and completely fucked up the air and all the rest of it. It's amazing. But I don't believe any of this stuff is actually objectively real. So who cares? No, the color red does not exist. The color red is an illusion. It's a neural illusion. It's a mass hallucination. I'll read it one more time. It's very, very fascinating. And I completely get where everybody's coming from, but it's crazy. Here we go. Despite the extraordinary experience of color perception, all colors are mere illusions in the sense that although naive people normally think that objects appear colored because they are colored, this belief is mistaken. Neither objects nor lights are colored, but colors are the result of neural processes. And and that goes into the hard problem of consciousness to a degree, because color would count as qualia, meaning the quality of our sense perception.
Mm-hmm.
What does taste like? Why does something look this way? Whatever. Who programmed us to have this collective illusion? All those kind of fall under the tent of the hard problem of consciousness, which I think this is the last generation of materialists, to be honest with you. Just based on the literature and things of that nature, and the last physics conference that I watched with these people going back and forth, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of being in the back rooms with pastors and hearing them talk about very specific points of theology, and then hearing them say, "Yeah, well, we're not going to tell people that because." You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I mean, I've done
really?
that. I've done that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And you're saying their conference reminded you of that?
Yeah. So when the last physics conference, I was looking and watching. I was watching these guys all talk, and it was basically like, yeah, but I was like, holy shit! Like the stuff that everybody was saying, like 98% of it went over my head, but the 2% that I got, it was mind-boggling. And to hear them interface with each other and be like, yeah, we're not going to tell a commoner. It was just insane. And I understand why, but it's insane. But yeah, I love the video. I'm glad that I didn't have the lyrics, because sometimes I get distracted by the lyrics. I'm so obsessed with like finding the meaning, but sometimes you can find the meaning. I mean, they okayed that video. Mm-hmm. So obviously, then to them, there's some connection between the lyrics and the instrumentation in the video. Mm-hmm. I love the song. It's another 10.
It's a 9 for me.
This was a really great stream. I really enjoyed it. You know, Kel always comes with like really interesting selections, but it was the different skies. Shout out to Bertle, shout out to Negative Vibes, shout out to Kel and Dross. Hail all three of them.
Yes,
dear listener. Having said that, we're out of here. Shout out